to the final group. Right, there we are. Thank you, ladies. Asia and Oceania. And our first contestant is from Japan. Kiana Tomita. And Kiana has completed a degree in Asian and Middle Eastern Studies, currently working on her PhD in Survivability Studies. Here we are. So we're going to lower that. Ready for action. And I shall reveal your question. Japan. How has working on your Beauty with a Purpose project changed the way you see your role as a woman in your community and in the world?
Thank you very much for your question. Hello, my name is Kiana Tomita. I'm Miss World Japan. So before my Beauty with a Purpose, I often ask myself, how can one voice make change in a world filled with suffering? But after that, now I know. Purpose turns a whisper into a movement. My Beauty with a Purpose started with disaster preparedness education and recovery support. Working with communities and schools, I saw the quiet strength of people, especially women, who lead not from titles but from compassion. Through supporting recovery efforts in cities devastated by 2011 and 2024 earthquakes, I realized that true leadership means standing with others in the darkest moments. As a woman, my role has evolved from simply participating in one society to actively shaping it. So I'm no longer just someone who tells stories as a journalist, but I am a story of resilience, and I carry the voices of women, children, and the vulnerable people wherever I go. In many cultures, women are expected to be soft, but what I've learned is that there is immense strength in softness, the strength to heal, to unite, and to build. Today, I see my purpose not as a temporary project, but as a lifelong commitment. Beauty is not perfection. It is the purpose. And the purpose has made me stronger, bolder, and more connected with the world. So when people ask me, what comes after Beauty with a Purpose? I smile and say, well, it doesn't end. Because the role I've discovered as a woman in this world is one I will carry until the very end of my life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Japan. Our next contestant is from Lebanon. This is Nada Kusa, who's currently a clinical psychologist, and Nada's proudest moment was presenting her thesis on learning helplessness for her master's degree. And to Lebanon, I now ask, how has working on your...
Hello everyone. When I began working on my Beauty with a Purpose project, I thought I was building something for others. But along the way, I noticed that I was building too. Working on mental health in Lebanon taught me that change doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it starts small, it starts in simple conversations. It starts with a question like, how are you doing? And this made me actually do the work. I sat with children, I sat with volunteers, I sat with mothers everywhere in Lebanon, in different parts, and each and every one of them was struggling in a way or another. And through this, I stopped seeing myself as someone who gives back, actually. I started seeing myself as someone who stands, who listens, who helps, who just gives their hand out to help the other person who is struggling. And my community began to grow larger. My community became so wide that it even became bigger than my own country. Because mental health didn't recognize any borders. We all struggle from mental health. We all know the importance of mental health. And it does not have to be limitless, and neither should compassion. Today, I don't just represent my country. Today, I represent every person suffering in silence, alone, and struggling by themselves. I represent every person that wants a change and that needs help and is asking for help and is not asking for help but wanting it from deep down. And I know for sure you don't need to change the world, but with every step you take and every move you do to, to make a single little change, I think you are making a change.
Wow. Thank you very much, Lebanon. For a minute there, I thought you were quoting Sting. Well, our next contestant is from Sri Lanka, Anudi Gunasekara. Now, Anudi is a student in international relations, wanting to pursue a career in international relations. Since becoming Miss Sri Lanka, Anudi's led numerous BWAP projects, reaching nearly 10,000 women and girls, and therefore this question has a lot of relevance. How has working on your Beauty with a Purpose project changed the way you see your role as a woman in your community and in the world?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Ayubowan, Namaskaram. First of all, I have to be thankful and grateful for this opportunity to be standing here today, because every year I've been watching head-to-head challenge every year. Now I'm standing here as a finalist. So I'm very grateful. Thank you again. Well, I'll tell you a story first. When I was about 12 years old, I went to a competition from my school to represent my school, and I was with another girl from another school, and she was on her period. And then she wanted to go to the washroom to change her napkin, and then I asked, okay, why don't you go and do it before the competition starts? She said, I only have one. I'm not I don't have many, so I can't use it. I don't want to waste it. At that time I was like, why does this happen? What does she mean? Because I never had that problem growing up. And then I did my research in the university on the criminalization of marital rape in Sri Lanka, because it is not criminalized yet, like in many other countries, and that's a problem. I wanted to investigate the connection between the level of awareness women have about their women's rights and the process of criminalization, because I believe in order to speak up against this violence, you have to have a knowledge about your rights. Other than that, you don't have any sort of opportunity to talk about it. And then only I found about period poverty. I realized besides violence, they are also going through period poverty. They are not just victims of menstrual poverty, they are also victims of violence, both at the same time. So I started my project after that. And then I realized I started this project to give back, but I'm also receiving something back. This is just purpose giving back and forth. And I have helped over 10,000 women and girls. And I help them through donations by providing sanitary products, not just biodegradable pads, non-biodegradable pads, it's also reusable napkins, so that they have a sustainable solution. And second, the awareness, because I believe awareness is key. You can give a napkin, but you can only use it once. But awareness will pass through generations. So when we do awareness programs, we try to target the audience that we are talking to. As an example, for young children, we are talking about how menstruation happens, what happens inside your body, and what you should be doing when it happens. And for older women, we talk about menopause, we talk about contraception, we talk about sexual health. Because I believe when it comes to awareness, it has to be suitable with the audience as well. And then the third thing is policy recommendation. In Sri Lanka, the rate on sanitary napkin is 51%, and we have to reduce it. So I met the Prime Minister of my country to talk about it. At the end of the day, I realized by trying to give them something, I also received a sense of purpose. And I no longer believe that women should be limited to things like this. They should have a voice to talk about these things and lead with dignity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sri Lanka. Now our next contestant is Thailand. Opal Suchata Trangshri. And Opal's a student of international relations, wanting one day to be an ambassador. And she's also has an interest in psychology and anthropology. And here she is to speak now on how has working on your Beauty with a Purpose project changed the way you see your role as a woman in your community and in the world.
Okay. Sawasdee. Good morning, everyone. Esteemed judges, my sisters, hello again. Thank you so much for the honor to be standing here again today. I believe that all of us here in our rooms growing up, we dream to be a lot of things in this world. Me, as a girl, I dreamed to be a big part of this world. A world changer, or maybe a big superstar where everyone knows me, and that I could give some happiness in their life. And then, as I said on my first head-to-head challenge, that I went through a breast tumor removal surgery when I was 16. And that is when I started dedicating my life to breast cancer. My Beauty with a Purpose project is called Opal for Her, and we aim to create a future where there is no fears, no barriers, nothing in between women and their dreams. I have worked alongside with patients, survivors, medical personnel, or even the government or the Ministry of Public Health. And that is I could say it's the biggest part of my life. It's one of the things I'm most proud of. And how it changed the way I see myself. I still see myself as a human being that wanted to be the light in this world, wanted to give back to anyone that I can in my life. But more than that, I've realized from my project that sometimes we are not a game changer. We are not the big thing in this world, because what's more important than being the big thing in this world is being the small thing that adds up to the big part of this world. And that is how my Beauty with a Purpose project changed the way I see myself as a woman in this society. I changed from seeing myself as a game changer to a particle, a gear, a puzzle that would add up to my own life, the life of every woman in this world, and just this world as a whole. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Thailand. Now we come to the final qualifier from this group. This is Turkey, İdil Bilgen. And İdil is fulfilling a lifelong dream of being a medical doctor and will be embarking on her medical residency training in the United States, specializing in radiation oncology. So, for you, for the final time, the question is, how has working on your Beauty with a Purpose project changed the way you see your role as a woman in your community and in the world?
Thank you for the question. Welcome, everyone. It is such a privilege to be here today and speaking before you regarding this question, actually. So, all my life I wanted to become a doctor, especially in the field of oncology. And recently I started to pursue my career in radiation oncology, doing all my research in that field, especially regarding breast cancer. For me, this was very important to advocate for breast cancer prevention, screening, and early detection in my community, internationally and nationally as well, in honor of my mother. She was a breast cancer patient for 16 years. She was very strong and brave, and unfortunately, she passed away due to this condition. But after her demise, I realized that more people need to be aware of this cancer, of this condition, and we need to advocate for it. So people that could do this best are the ones who have experienced it, who have felt the fear, uncertainty, and stress of a cancer diagnosis in the family and the treatment phase, which we did for 16 years. So in my community, in both Turkey, throughout my research, I actually conducted academic research on prevention, especially during the pandemic, where we held where we wrote publications on the importance of early detection and for women to continue going to their screenings, mammogram screenings, to continue treatment despite the burden of the COVID-19 pandemic. That was one of my work, actually, that I did with Princess Margaret Cancer Center in Toronto. And with my Beauty with a Purpose project recently, I've been doing this work in Ukraine, holding seminars and symposiums to teach women about the importance of mammogram screenings according to guidelines, for them to not be scared to actually go to that hospital, to enter that clinic for their screening. Because some women choose to avoid it, but it should not be avoided, because if detected early, that cancer, that condition is treatable and sometimes curable. So in this way, you not only save yourself as a woman, but also you protect your family. This way, your children, your family, your husband, your family does not fall apart. You stay together as a whole. And no children should have to separate from their mothers due to a condition that could be prevented, that could be treated if detected early in time. And with my Purpose project, I've been trying to advocate for this in Turkey through remote collaborations with the Turkish Cancer Society, and in Ukraine with the Ukrainian Diplomatic Spouse Association and the Ukrainian Foreign Minister's wife. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you there, Turkey. And just while we find out from the judges, I just want to give a thank you to our supporters and sponsors this evening, or this afternoon, or even this morning. I'm losing track of time here. First of all, the government of Telangana, their support has been incredible, and we obviously would like to say thank you to them for all that support and for making dreams come true here in Telangana. Hightex, which is the host of the 72nd Miss World Final, will be moving there in the coming week as we build up towards the 72nd Miss World Final, which is on the 31st of May. And then I'd also like to mention our home, away from home, Trident Hotel here in Hyderabad, and our associate sponsor, Aura Realty, Aura Realty, and AdSplash and Social Aviator, who are operating on the marketing and sponsorship of the events, and also to broadcast partners including Doordarshan and Waves. So we'd like to thank them all, and with that I'm going to ask the contestants to step forward to the front of the stage as we reveal who's gone through to the final. There we are. There we go. So our final two qualifiers come from Asia and Oceania, and going through from this group we have Turkey. Congratulations, Turkey. And joining her, Thailand. So the two T's, T for two, moving forward. Thank you to Sri Lanka, Lebanon and Japan as well as they join the audience. But there we have it. So it's getting exciting. So if we want to have a look along that line, we have our qualifiers from the Americas and Caribbean. We have Brazil and Trinidad and Tobago. There we are. From Africa, we have Namibia and Zambia. From Europe, we have Ireland and Wales. And from Asia and Oceania, we have Thailand and Turkey. Okay. Now I'm going to ask if we can get a camera in position, because we've got to see who's going to make the choices, because in a moment we're going to go into the final part of the challenge. But